the cloud. All right. Morning, everyone. Having a little bit of technical difficulties with the video stream. We'll get through it. First order of business is to approve the minutes to the October 14th meeting. Well, they are in your packet and they were emailed to you last week, I believe.
I'll second.
Simeon, second by Dave. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right, on to committee reports. Mr. Fitzgerald reviewed the monthly bank reconciliation.
Yes, everything was in order.
Okay. On governance committee, the governance committee did meet prior to your October meeting at 7:30 that morning. And then they established the salaries for the executive director and the chief financial officer. I believe Mr. Simeon reported that during the regular meeting, but attached in your packet are the minutes to that governance committee, and would like to have those accepted by the board.
I'll second, Scott.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Oh, sweet. Yes, I do. Thank you. We shall do that. All right, attached to your packet or within your packet is the budget report. You should have it in the, somewhere in that packet. There you go. Okay. Okay, on our revenue end, we did receive the project applications for the Weston Group in Niagara, and those are those fees for the applications, $1,000 each. You can see $2,000. Lot Holdings did provide the monthly payment for the Midas building lease at $500. We received some investment earnings, as you see. On the expenditure side, salaries, unemployment insurance payment, quarterly payroll tax payment, payment to Betsy Emery for the IDA website, payment to Nimer for the Tryon Technology Park. And in the bottom, you'll see the other investments that we have received in totals. Good to see some revenues. I believe it is. Yep. Yep. Yeah, the last one we paid was in March. Here. Could go up slightly. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the budget report?
I'll make the motion, Scott.
Mike?
I'll second.
Dan? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we'll move down to Mr. Roll with the county report.
Good morning, everybody. A couple of quick updates from the 3038 sewer project. At last word, the pump station, a good portion of it been installed in the old Mayfield wastewater treatment facility. And
I'm ready to go. Sorry.
couple of items left to complete to get that finished. In relation to that project, you may recall, we did the infiltration and inflow work in Gloversville. It's required to identify spots in Gloversville that need to be repaired in their water line. $450,000 was provided for the work. 11 places were identified. That's just a fraction of the number, the total number that probably needs to be addressed at some point. And got through the first 3 and then got to West Street, which was a little more challenging than expected in terms of time and money. So whether it impacts, if we can get 11 done with this amount of money is still to be determined, but West Street was a bigger problem than expected, but it's been addressed. And the last item you may have seen, I'll just give you a little budget update. You may have seen a 16% tax increase number somewhere on the original county budget. We did that just to scare you. We had a session yesterday. And tentatively, that number has been brought down to less than half of 16%. We have another session Monday. There's a public hearing Monday if anybody wants to come and speak about the county budget. And we hope to adopt the budget Monday. The goal is 6%. So that's where we stand.
Okay,
Better than 8.
was 16, I believe.
It was 16.
Any questions for Mr. Roll?
Is there still any movement on the museum, the second art museum?
Has been discussion about, and it's a discovery center, though, it's not a museum.
Oh, okay. Right.
No discussion about it for the last couple of meetings that I've attended at this point. There's still site work being done as far as I understand, right, Scott?
Yes, there's site work being done. Basically the contractor's wrapping up. Basically the site will stay dormant over the winter, obviously. Putting in some safety protocols, because in the past, that piece of property has been used as a snowmobile access from some folks that live on the road above it to get down to the Great Sacandaga Lake. But if they do that now, they'll be going off about a 12-foot cliff in the back. So we're putting up some visible snow fence and things just to have some extra precautions and to keep, people out of it. So anyways.
And if you get questions, I've seen questions and I've heard questions, people saying, well, why are they clearing it if it might or might not happen? The site work was a whole separate contract. That has nothing to do with building the building. So the site work contract was approved and is being carried out. Whether or not the building gets built is still to be decided.
Yep, that's correct. Okay. Moving on to our CRG report. Jeff? No, Jeff's not here. Okay. Make sure I'm not missing anybody in here. It doesn't appear to. Okay. All right. Chamber report from Mary Beth.
Hello, everyone. So over the last quarter, we've continued to see a lot of membership growth. We've brought on 10 new members just in the last month into the chamber. The biggest thing that we've seen as far as, as far as the reason for increased engagement is a lot of it has been about the insurance brokerage that we do offer throughout the chamber. We are starting our Chamber Champion Initiative and our corporate sponsorship platform. And then we are also continuing our work with HFM BOCES and PTEC and FMCC to strengthen our workforce pipeline programming. I would encourage everybody to come to our workforce summit on December 5th. It's going to be more of like a workshop. It's going to really, we're going to try to get some work done out of it instead of it just being a talking to session, and take all of your ideas to help develop the portrait of a graduate, which is a New York State requirement now, and to develop our PTEC and BOCES and pathway programming throughout our region to just keep kids here, keep them going to FM, and then keep them working here after, essentially. We've been supporting 2 grant funds with New York State Ag and Markets and with a restaurant initiative team that's provided by New York State. And we've been able to be kind of more of like the bridge financing support through the micro enterprise grants through the city of Amsterdam as well. I attended the New York State Department of Labor webinar seminar on disability and workmen's compensation updates, and that information was gathered and will be put out in our Chamber 101 series and online webinar series. And then we are now conducting our small business initiative sponsored by American Express tour throughout November. We reach over 150 small businesses for this collaboration for this shop small, and they give us promotional kits for that. And that's just about it.
Okay. Questions for Mary Beth? No, we'll move on to some old business. Continuing on with our Nexus Renewables solar project at Tryon. We all know that the town of Johnstown solar moratorium expired back in August. I contacted Nexus to let them know. Still have not heard anything from them, nor have you, Kara, I don't think. So obviously it's been a while. I don't know whether they're just not interested anymore or what have you. But, you know, with that being said, you know, is this something you want to go out and solicit other solar companies to see if they have an interest in that particular piece of property at Tryon, or just sit on it? It's kind of an open question for the board to say, what would you like to do moving forward with that, if anything?
Well, so what was the new law saying about projects like Nexus that were, I know they were already told they had to go back to the planning board for review.
Yeah.
Anything in the new law that dramatically changes the condition of the premise of the project as it was originally conceived? Do we know that yet?
I don't think it will, to the extent that it wouldn't be viable there. They may have to go through some more different review processes or check some more boxes, but yeah, I don't think it would change in the end, but so.
From what I understand, so long as I believe construction begins, maybe it has to be concluded by the end of 2027. Or is it 2026
Mm,
for the subsidies, the federal subsidies before they
yeah,
wind down?
yeah, I'm not sure.
That might be playing into the calculus as well.
It could be, yeah.
I'd rather have them let us know whether they're in or they're out.
Yeah,
Like it's a loose end and, you know, either you're going forward or you're not.
yeah,
You're saying, you know, by this date,
okay,
And if they're not going forward, then I'm all for soliciting somebody else, but I think they put some work in there, but, you know, let's end it correctly.
okay. Yeah, I'll work with Kara. Maybe she has some other contacts. The contact that I was working with, it's been quite a while now. We were having monthly update meetings and then nothing. So I simply sent an email to that contact informing them. I didn't send a letter or anything, but maybe that person's no longer there. But okay, I'll continue to try and I'll report back next month as to if I'm making any progress. Okay.
and I recall that parcel is not suitable for commercial development.
Correct. It's kind of on the behind Vireo there on that side, a little bit of a slope, a little bit of a grade there. As a matter of fact, if you recall, the original, they had to, Nexus had to obtain an easement or a right of way over Vireo's property, if you recall. So there's not any road frontage to that particular piece of property. So, okay. Our T-bill number 1 will expire on November 28th. I'm going to have to send an email around with those rates at that time. They change consistently, so I didn't really want to plug in a rate at this moment.
Something helpful, Scott, in there, we could also put another maybe column of what the amount is for each one of those people.
Sure. I can do that. Okay, moving right along on the website research project. Per my discussion with Betsy Emery last week, she has completed 6 of the customer development interviews. I told her we need to wrap this up by the end of the year. She's already formalizing her project report. And once that's submitted to us, we'll have it for the next meeting. We'll review that, and then a meeting of the Joint Executive Committee will be scheduled to discuss the report. As you recall, you know, the outcome could be a new portal, is what Betsy is calling this new website. It would be a portal. And our budget, we included $25,000 for this particular initiative, knowing that it's going to cost more than that, but we did budget for some of that. So, okay, moving on to some more exciting things with our City of Johnstown Senior Housing Initiative. I left all of the background information as to where the project is, and you know, all of the steps that we have taken with the city and the IDA, as well as information on the application that Five Corners Development has submitted. We've had general discussions about a potential pilot, but Sumit Gupta is here today, and he would like to address the board and continue that discussion. So go ahead, Sumit, and I can, you should be able to bring that up if you'd like.
Joyce, can you pull up the presentation? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Okay, I can kind of hear, okay, so I'll share my screen now then. Give me one moment.
I don't think you guys met before, but Joyce is one of our partners from NRP Group, and Antonio, you guys met partner platform.
Sorry.
Well, she's looking that up, just so you guys know, all the solar tax credits are completely flux right now, so there's a very good chance that it gets pulled, so my hunch is that's probably why those guys have gone to our kind of, I'm happy to recommend others, but you'll probably find yourself in the same position.
Okay, I guess she's here.
Just FYI, I can barely hear Sumit, so Scott, if you can help me, if you could give indication when I should.
You want me to trade with you so you can be
change
closer to the thing?
Is that what Mike's over there, I assume?
Thanks. Yeah, okay.
Is that better, Joyce?
Yes, much better.
Okay, great. You didn't say that to me.
I can hear Sumit, yes.
You ready to go?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
ready?
Yeah. Just going on to the second slide here. A lot has happened since we last met. So thank you guys again for helping to facilitate the land transfer. We, with the help of the mayor's office and her incredible team, we were able to expedite, and get the site plan approvals and zoning variances all done in a very timely fashion in order to get our submission in for mid-September with HCR for the 9% tax credits. What we're proposing in the end is a 64-unit senior housing building, and the total project cost is roughly around $27 million. If you go on to the next slide, just to give you a sense of timeline. So again, we went through the process through Johnstown, City of Johnstown, in July and August, got our application in by September, which is unheard of, but got it in. Very happy with the end result. I've shared a copy of the report with the mayor has, as well as you, Scott, have it now. Our hope is that as of right now, HCR has said that their anticipated award dates is going to be March. That usually means April, May. And the hope would be that we're awarded this time around, and we're breaking ground by the end of next year with the delivery that's roughly 18 to 20 months out from there. The one thing I will just mention, again, we feel very confident about the project, but this round they had 7 applications come in from Mohawk Valley, which is more than they've ever had in history, and they typically award 2 to 4. So there is definitely competition there, and what happens in that scenario is that ultimately we just reload our application for the following year, and they typically try to prioritize projects that have previously applied but have not been awarded. We are going to make a big push with the mayor in the next couple of months to get some additional support letters in and have those go directly to the head of HR, because every little bit helps. So I believe we talked about this in the past, but Joyce, if you go to the next slide. But we are so beyond partnering with NRP on this project, we're bringing in a nonprofit partner by the name of ICANN. Is everybody familiar with them, or should I give?
No.
Okay. So ICANN is the darling of nonprofits in Central New York. So they came highly recommended to us from ESD in Utica. They've got an incredibly large team. They have multiple recreational facilities that they run in Central New York. They actually just launched the Utica Children's Museum They're a 325 person organization. They're a 350 person organization that has 325 different partnerships with other local nonprofits. They have over 20 different services, so health, wellness, support services that they offer, and they currently work with over 2,500 families throughout the Central New York region. We've been incredibly impressed with everything as a partner that they've been able to bring to the table. So much so that we're bringing them into another project of ours in Amsterdam, and then now we're looking at another project with them in Albany. And it's one of those types of partners that you find it's diamond in the rough, and we're hoping to really accelerate that. They did at one point in time have a presence in Johnstown, going back a handful of years, but they said, based on conversations we've had with the Office of the Aging and some of the other groups that they know locally, they're excited to get back into this community. And the one thing that Mayor doesn't even know is that they're planning on expanding their offering, which is, again, going to be very much focusing on helping not only seniors within our building, helping them with financial wellness as well as health, but also taking those services out to the community and being able to help people outside of our building and helping those in the city of Johnstown or really across the county. Next slide. So the big thing that when we had initially emailed you guys a couple months ago on a proposal on the pilot. So we have a little bit of egg in our face because we had submitted our proposal prior to HCR putting out their final capital projects manual. They unfortunately made some changes in their project manual, which effectuated rents, the rents that we have to offer, and forced us to readjust where the pilot would need to be. And I'll go through and help sort of talk through what our process is and how we backed into it. But ultimately, what we're proposing is a 30-year pilot at $250. We had initially talked about $500, escalating 2% each year, and then obviously paying the agency fee as well as the administrative fees. On a 30-year look forward, that totals $650,000 versus the fact that the property's been sitting there off the tax roll for the last decade at least. The other thing is that sales and mortgage taxes are something that we're not requesting through the IDA as a HCR affordable project. Those are as of right that we can get directly. So we'll go to the next slide. Just to give you a little bit of a comparison. So Hale Creek, sorry, I probably should have mentioned that. That's the name of the project now, is Hale Creek Preserve. We're on the left-hand side. Beacon Mills is the project that we're doing in Amsterdam. Very similar project at 66 units, senior affordable, almost identical. Same pilot proposal that we've put forth there, and we should actually have that finalized on Thursday this week. Vettersburg is a project that another affordable partner did in Amsterdam. A little bit older. This was about 5 or 6 years old, but they had proposed a pilot, or they have a pilot for $242 per unit, escalating at 2% with a lower agency fee. And then right now, just to give you a sense of other pilots that we're working on in Schenectady, which is a little bit more of a mature market, we're doing a much larger project, a $120 million project, where our proposal currently is around $350, so slightly higher than where this shakes out, but obviously that's it's a function of rents, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. So there is a concept that I know Kara is familiar with, known as 581A. 581A is basically an as-of-right tax structure for affordable housing, and what that means is effectively your taxes every year change as a function of the net operating income associated with the project. And it goes into a formulaic process, which I'll show on the next slide, where basically what the state decided going back 15, 20 years ago is that for affordable housing, you have reduced rents, you have to be able to bring taxes down that are more proportionate to rents and obviously versus market rate product. So when we go into any municipality, our goal is always to do a pilot. Goal is to pay an agency fee and be involved with the local IDAs. But we always have the fallback option going to a 581A. We've already spoken to the assessor in the city of Johnstown, and while they're not familiar with the entire process, they've understood what needs to be done, and we've gotten some of the numbers from them as well. But again, it's something that we would otherwise be allowed to get. And the biggest thing that I'd say is that this unlike a market rate deal, us asking for a pilot isn't a financial benefit for us, right? This is really to help mitigate increased operational expenses, because unlike a market rate deal, really the income is designed to cover your expenses, and there's very, very little cash flow associated with it. If it was a market rate deal, again, we would try to get a pilot, and then it just maximizes the cash flow that goes to the investor. In this situation, it's quite different. Next slide. So to help substantiate how this works, and is there a way you could zoom in a little, Joyce? If you look at the chart, basically the second column says the forecasted NOI. So that's the net operating income that we're forecasting. Obviously couldn't show 30 years on here, so we showed the first 5 years and the last 5 years. If we were to go and get a 581A, and I'll show you the map on the left side of the screen in a second, those are the taxes that we would pay. What we've proposed at $250 per unit, if you look at the first 5 years, it's significantly lower than what it would be as a 581A. But as you extrapolate it out over the course of 30 years, so if you scroll up a little bit, you see that it reverses trend, because the net operating income is coming down every year. And in total, we tried to have it shake out such that it's somewhat close to parity, and limiting the exemption that we're requesting to $74,000. So if you scroll further to the right-hand side, other direction, that just shows the delta annually, and you can see it goes from being a positive delta to a negative delta, and in totality, the exemption that we're requesting is around $74,000. And then if you go back to the left side of the screen, so the way that a 581A is calculated, there's if you go up, there's an as you guys know, an equalization rate and tax rate. That is the city of Johnstown's current rates. The one somewhat subjective number is the capitalization rate. So in speaking to the assessor and knowing that what we're getting in Amsterdam and knowing what we're getting in Schenectady, we think the capitalization rate should actually be higher, which means that the 581A taxes would be lower. But we went out and asked a third party, Newmark, to do a 581A analysis for us that we'll share with you guys. And they actually provided this capitalization rate of 9.274. And once we send over an application, we didn't want to send in an application until we had this conversation, but once we send in the application, we'll provide all of that documentation. Next slide. And then from a economic development standpoint, so during construction, we're forecasting around 200 jobs. So this is where the expansion is going to happen. So initially, they were just going to have the 4 full-time employees, but now they're actually bringing in 15 part-time equivalent employees that are going to provide services externally to the community. So in total, we're looking at 5 full-time positions, 15 part-time positions, and bringing over $1 million in salaries to the local market, where I think all but one job is forecasted to, from ICANN and property management, all but one job is forecasted to be hired locally. Next slide. So, I mean, just looking at this in totality here, again, we're bringing 64 units of senior housing, solving for a critical senior housing shortage in the area. We're taking underutilized parcels and putting them into productive use in line with what's been requested in the comp plan, as well as the state's objectives, bringing in salaries, as mentioned before. One of the things that I don't even recall if we spoke about this before, but part of our plan also entails building out the Schreiber Creek Pond Trail. We sort of interchangeably use that name in Hale Creek just because you can't find Schreiber Creek on a map. But building out that trail, putting money into the bridge, and then extending that trail so that you're really creating connectivity from the downtown, utilizing the green space and bringing them into the senior, what the mayor is dubbing the senior hub district, as well as giving tenants direct access where they're not having to walk over a vehicular bridge, having the walking path that brings them around, and just creating an additional green space in the downtown area. And then, as always, our objective, or usually the end catalyst of all these things, is that projects like this help attract other developers to the area, help attract other investors to the area, and should be hopefully catalytic for driving new investments into the market. And the last slide, just thank you again for Mayor, thank you most importantly, but thank you guys for the partnership here and helping to facilitate this. Without your guys' involvement, this wouldn't be possible. So I said a lot.
No, it's great.
Happy to answer questions.
Very informative. Thank you for that.
Yep.
I just have one quick question about that trail. Is the city going to maintain that in the winter?
I believe that
Or
it is gonna be our trail.
Yeah. So you think you'll be plowing it, or keeping the snow off of it, just so?
It should be convenient. It comes right from the back of City Hall.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay.
I was just a little shock's not the right word. I was going to ask you if you would spend $1,000 a unit for your pilot, and now you're going down to $250. So policemen got to be paid, teachers have to be paid. We need to generate some income, and that's not a lot of income for that building.
Yeah, so I mean, again, as I mentioned before, the whole way that affordable housing projects work is where your income and your expenses are designed to sort of offset one another. The biggest reason why going through the pilot versus a 581A is our desire is because we want to make sure you guys get the agency fee for helping facilitate this whole transaction, but also for the fact that it creates stability in knowing what the taxes are every year over the course of a period of time, as opposed to going through the 581A where you have every single year it's going to be different because it's going to be a function of what the net operating income is. Again, this isn't us saying the more taxes we pay is less money out of our pocket. That's it, and vice versa. It's not how this works. So this is really just when we initially approached 500, it was based on previous year's project manual as to how HCR was calculating incomes. And given the changes, we had to just adjust to be in line with what they're proposing. So I know I'm not answering your question directly, but ultimately, we always look at the 581A as the benchmark because it's something that we can obtain as of right, and we try to get into a place that's closer to parity.
How's the mayor feel about that? Enough income coming in?
It's it was a little shocking to see the change in the pilot program, but going through the whole pro housing process, it is daunting. I just took another course on it. There's a need. That's the problem. There's a need. Do you ignore the need because you are looking at the profitability? You have to as a city, yes, as a business, but you also have to look at your residents. We have a real housing crisis here in the city, especially with seniors. So, I mean, this would be the only project, to be honest with you, that I would do pro housing with a reduction is for seniors, because there is such an issue in this city. There's such a pressing issue. So, how do we make that happen? Well, unfortunately, you're not having builders and people coming into the community to build housing for seniors with no stipulations, no pilot programs. They're not coming. And to be quite honest, I know a lot of seniors personally in this area, and they could not afford $1,200 to $1,500 in rent a month. They couldn't. So it's kind of a balancing act. What we are doing is we're redeveloping an area that's never been developed before, really. We're creating a stable environment in the center of Johnstown. I believe with creating a stable living environment for the seniors, It's going to be profitable for the city financially, you know, economically. You know, they're going to be spending money and walking and creating a lifestyle in this hub. So, you know, it is what it is, really, when it comes to senior housing.
There's two other things I'll just add to that is one is obviously this land has historically not paid any taxes, right? So you are you're taking land that's somewhat obsolete and putting it onto the tax roll now. And also most importantly is creating housing for the seniors. The other thing is our rents are such that people aren't paying more than 30% of their income, right? So what that means for some of these seniors is the indirect benefit of them actually having discretionary income, right? Because their rents are now $800 as opposed to $1,200 or $1,400. More discretionary income means more spending in local establishments and creating sales tax revenue that is a direct benefit to the community.
So if I may ask,
Sure.
in terms of understanding those downstream benefits, has there been any kind of analysis of what that potential sales tax boost might look like once you've got a full occupancy in this facility? I mean, with the maintenance of the trail, you've got a direct, safe pathway right into the heart of Johnstown. Presumably, seniors going for lunch, maybe it incentivizes some sort of retail walkable shopping kind of scenario. Are there past precedents that can demonstrate what that downstream impact looks like?
I mean, I don't know of a particular study that can give you a very educated response to that. I mean, obviously, there are lots of studies out there that try to back into that analysis. Happy to look into it and get back to you.
It'd be interesting, I think, to know, because I do think,
Sure,
you know, right, wrong, or otherwise, that's often, I think, the glance that a lot of pilots get, that it's not maximizing.
Yeah.
Joe, that's effectively your criticism, is that it's not maximizing the revenue that the municipality is going to receive from the project. But I think the acknowledgement is this is purposefully a not market rate investment or development. And so it would be that this whole premise is set up to make this affordable for people that need it. And I think from putting my school district hat on, I'm curious how the pilot gets structured for the benefit of the school district, because as some may or may not know, pilots can have a negative impact on the tax cap formulation for school districts.
Mhm.
So have you had any dialogue with the school district superintendent to figure out what that looks like?
I have not. Happy to have that conversation. I mean, the one thing is that obviously this is senior, right? So you're not going to have kids. So in theory, putting aside the formula component, in theory, this shouldn't put a strain on the local school district.
It's not about that.
Yeah,
It's the formula.
Yeah.
Because the pilot is logged in as revenue on the formula for the school district, which changes the potential for your reimbursement from the state for state funding. So when solar projects come in, there's oftentimes an upfront, more or less a gift payment, and then basically the pilot for the school district gets lowered through the course of the life of the pilot program. So I would encourage you to reach out to our superintendent and have that conversation, figure out what that looks like. Absolutely. Just because without that, it could be problematic. And then I think maybe this question is better put to the mayor. Do you guys have an anticipation that city services will need to be increased to accommodate this development in any way?
Because you know, when it comes to a complex like that, I mean, there won't be garbage pickup for them. There'll be they'll be maintaining their own facility. Yes, we'll plow where we normally do. Prindle Ave, we own the senior center. We'll still be responsible for that. So that's nothing new that's changed. So, maintaining, we've always kind of maintained that, pathway anyways, you know, cause it's a pathway the police use a lot and that, so we do maintain it already. So, I mean, I don't see any increase in services as far as that goes. City services, garbage pickup, you know, not much more when it comes to, you know, street, you know, maintenance or that. It's just typical. Traffic, we did a little traffic study, but it's senior housing, so, I forgot what the percentage was of seniors owning cars. If it's, you know, a husband and a wife, traditionally there's one vehicle when they're retired due from that age, or in some cases, no vehicle. So, traffic pattern, we don't see a problem with that either.
I do like what David mentioned about what the spin-off is going to be, because if you look at what the Chamber of Commerce has with tourism, you can say when, you know, even I think the Little League Park, they were promoting that, they said, if we build it this way, we're going to get millions of dollars. There's a factor to it. So you can find out what the impact is. Again, I also think $16,000 is a very low amount. I understand that's a system. I know there's good things coming in that area. I understand that, but as a business person, even as a property owner, I know people in Johnstown spending more than $16,000 a year for a home, and they're not assessed at $24 million. You know, they're not putting in a big project. So to me, to pay $250, even when it was $500, I thought that's good. So, but now it's down to $250. I know you're doing comparables. I just think $16,000 is like you're giving away the farm, I guess. I think you gotta look at it, and I've seen a lot of affordable housing deals at the bank. If you were just a straight commercial investor, you're putting your own money in, and you can charge market rates, or if you build a higher end product, you can try to get more than market rate. What happens with these affordable housing projects is they do not get built because, as the mayor said, the target audience can't pay $1,200 a month. So what the formula HCR, and correct me if I'm wrong, formula HCR says the state recognizes this and says in order to promote affordable housing projects, HCR gives awards. And it's been, I can tell you at the bank, it's been more competitive than ever. We saw more applications come through the bank last year than ever before. And I think you see that as a developer in this space, it's a very competitive arena to try to build a product that has some quality in it for the residents. And then they're not rent controlled, but because you've got HCR involvement, there is a restriction on what you can charge versus what the individuals as a percentage of their income. And that's why HCR gets involved. What?
For 50 years.
For 50 years. So that's why HCR gets involved, so that these do get built. Otherwise, you would have zero development for this type of affordable housing. I just think it's just a landowner and business person. I just think it's.
But that's why you're not developing these projects.
Right.
That's why he is.
But I've developed other projects in other states that have been profitable.
Right, but not as subsidized
No.
affordable housing, right? There's the difference.
Because I've invested a lot of money.
Yeah. You have,
yes.
you know,
My own money.
that's right.
I don't
This is
borrow
not,
money from anyone
this
else.
is not, I understand that, but that's not what this program is. And I appreciate what you're suggesting, Joe, but I think the benefits so far outweigh
I understand
the prospective loss of income. And, you know, as is demonstrated, $16,000 is way more than $0 annually in revenue. And if the city is not anticipating substantive increases in expenses as a result of this development, it ends up being a net gain. And, you know, I think it's.
I know it will pass. That's fine, I'm just saying as a business person.
And the other part of this, the developer,
I've done things different.
the developer gets a developer fee.
Mhm.
And it's gonna, and again, that's controlled. HCR doesn't allow you to get a 50% developer fee on the fee. And then there,
What is the fee, or is that a question we should ask? Roughly 10%, 5%?
it varies from job, no, it's not even that high. And then there's typically, I don't know what your funding stack looks like, but there's typically a pro housing, I call it a loan, but it's forgivable. So if you are meeting the criteria of the HCR and servicing the target audience, that gets forgiven. But typically these do not cash flow. These typically have a break even or negative cash flow. Your forgiveness of the debt is based on that you're providing 30 to 50 years of benefits to the tenants in order to keep the rents low and affordable.
So, Tom, as the Board of Supervisors representative here, do you feel as though the Board of Supervisors would have an issue with this reduction in the pilot payment, or?
I can't speak for everybody.
Right.
For me, I understand where Joe's coming from, but I fully get that a project like this is not a typical, he's not building a project so people can afford to pay $3,000 to rent an apartment. So there's give and take.
Mhm.
And so the give is a little less annual income. The take is, as David pointed out, I believe, or somebody else had said, that seniors will have more money to pay for other things than just their rent. So they may spend more money downtown Johnstown or wherever, Gloversville. So yeah, as a personal opinion, I 16 grand is not a ton of money a year, but I would support this overall.
So I did have a conversation with the superintendent of Johnstown Schools, Alicia Coster, about this when I was discussing other projects. We discussed the $500 unit pilot and basically the pilot payment that would be made to the city of Johnstown School District. And I think she totally gets the big picture. And she made a comment about seniors living in Johnstown, Old Glovers, or wherever they are, having that fixed income, not being able to really upkeep their home, and not really having a lot of options either that would want to stay. And she gets the big picture of, okay, they move into this senior housing, and then their homes are made available for hopefully, families coming, right? And then the families, supporting the school district. So she looked at it from that standpoint. She didn't really have a concern of the pilot payment. She did note that what Dave was referring to is, as far as their budget, she made the comment that $75,000 was kind of like where it starts to get. Anything, pilot payments above that, it's kind of like that starts to become problematic. Anything below, not so much. But
That's
again,
why
yeah.
I want the conversation to happen
Yep.
with the district administration, just so that there's common understanding of what to expect. That when
That's the right person to speak to.
yeah, Alicia Costa.
Okay.
Yep. And she's an expert in all that stuff. I'm just a board member. I can't remember the nitty-gritty details, but I do know that it is a real thing at a certain scale. The real thing that can negatively impact the school district's budget.
You can help facilitate conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I can do that.
Great.
We can have a Zoom or meet in person, whatever. But
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
touch
happy to
base
meet.
with
Yeah.
And I think I'm just adding my 2 cents in. My parents are getting older. If we have to move out of district to go to a place where there's senior housing, just to make sure that they're taken care of, essentially, if we can stay here, keeping the families here is another benefit for you. So.
I've already had conversations with 3 individuals who have gotten wind of this and are saying, I want to put my name on the list. So I
I
think,
already have a list and it's too many names on the list
I'm
to
sure.
fit.
I'm sure, yep.
So, yeah,
Which is proof that it's needed.
it's all positive response.
Mhm.
It's all positive. And like I said, I like to say it's affordable senior housing. You know, there's still criterias. So, you know, I always say the city's like a business. However, there has to be human kindness and we have to look out for our community. And right now we have a real housing crisis. So we need to deal with it. I also would like to say, as far as housing goes, I'm working with the CRG. We're working on properties to redevelop. And I am certainly looking to work with developers to put real housing out there that is not considered affordable, but just builders coming in and creating housing in our city. So, you know, this is not the direction we're going all the time, but it is the direction that we need the most right now.
It's a start.
It's a
right?
piece
I mean,
of, it's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to start with this. I mean, you even think back to Saratoga 15, 20 years ago. Like, you have to slowly start with some momentum and then get yourself up. If we had our druthers and we could just do market rate, I'd much rather be doing that. It is much more lucrative for me. But because of the municipality, the current conditions of current environment, like, this is what works. If we could do market rate in this parcel, we absolutely would, but construction costs just don't justify the rents, or we're charging these seniors $3,000, which no one's gonna pay.
And I could just say from personal experience, again, somebody in my extended family, you know, when I was talking to them over the weekend about the county tax increase, the school taxes go up, city taxes, town taxes, they're never based on anybody's income. They're just going up. These people get a place to live where their rent is based on their income. It's much more affordable and much easier for them to survive.
Okay, well, it's a great conversation. You know, I think you're looking for the IDA to basically give this blessing of the concept of $250 per unit. I mean, obviously we'll have a follow-up conversation with the, what's that? Yeah, with an escalator.
Yeah, we have the application fully prepared with cover letter, talks through more of the 581A and just gives you a breakdown of what we're doing. I wanted to hold off on sending that until having this dialogue, and also more than happy to look into that study and also meet with Felicia.
And just to be clear, I'm interested in that study,
Sure.
but, you know, let's be reasonable. If there's really nothing substantive of research out there, I'm not asking for, you know, you to perform a study.
No, there's always gonna be a study, right?
Yeah.
It's just like how some of that stuff, I read Des Moines studies and I'm like, did you back into that?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a finger in the air.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, you know, doing market studies on supply demand, doing studies on rents, that's a lot more data driven. Whereas that's a bit more, okay, you're gonna have 64, hopefully 120 more people living here. They're all gonna have $300 more in their pocket. How much are they gonna actually spend at the restaurant? It really depends on who's there, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Greg, anything?
Sorry, I've had my back to you.
Not at all. I mean, I understand everyone's perspective. I do think that the community benefit outweighs concerns of individuals who may have chosen a different path in life. I mean, I would, you know, Bill, I appreciate everything that you've done, but you also have chosen not to do these sorts of projects for a reason, because you can't make money on it. So it's not fair to put those two, to compare those two things. So I think, you know, as a former resident of the city of Johnstown, I know what a need it is. And this is an important project that I think we have to support.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate it. Samit.
Yep. You know how to reach me if you have any questions?
Yep, I'll connect with you sometime this week. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great discussions, thank you. We are on page 6 and 7. Next discussion topic is our project NYK, which is the Niagara Water Bottling Project. If you recall, last month we went through what you see on page 6 and 7 in your agenda. And today is basically just an update. We're not going to be taking any actions today. Couple of things. First of all, the project has to go back to the Town of Perth Planning Board for a site plan amendment. You'll see on page 8. And the amendment will include a couple of components. The first will be a cooling tower that will be needed on top of the building. And this supports the cooling process for the bottles and the processing itself. A water storage tank has also been deemed necessary for fire protection flows. With further analysis provided by CT Mail of the existing water infrastructure in Tryon to include the elevated tank. They still need to have a water storage tank, which they are prepared to do. Relocation of soils, as you recall, we had discussed this 50-acre site is pretty, there's a grade to it. And in order to level that site, they need to grade that, and all of those soils are going to be deposited over on our larger site at Tryon, the 115-acre site. That's being engineered, so it will be done in lifts. And that site will, based upon what Adam Winstanley has noted, that site will be more attractive, it'll be more suitable for development. Niagara will be taking the lead on that particular project as well. And all of the foundations that are there now will be removed. So again, that's another component that will be added as far as the amendment. And then lastly, the location of a customer-owned substation. Been through many circles with National Grid and ESD, and the path forward now is that Niagara will be required to have a customer-owned substation located on that property. We're still moving forward with a large transmission project to bring transmission power to Tryon, but a customer-owned substation will be required. So that's moving forward. The Town of Perth Planning Board has already commenced the seeker amendment process again for this, and they will be meeting on December 1st to commence that review. We'll also have to go to the ZBA because of the location or the cooling tower height for another area variance. So that's in the process, moving along. I don't see that there will be any issues with that. And then moving to page 11, some other updates. We did take a few actions after reviewing the project during our October 14th meeting. You determined that this project is in keeping with the IDA's mission, and then you adopted a resolution to schedule that public hearing for November 5th. That public hearing was held at the Town of Perth Senior Center, and there were no speakers. So that has been completed. A couple other project updates. I did meet with Stephen Tomlinson, who's the superintendent of BP School District. He is fully in support of the project as well. And lastly, there's been a change to the Fast New York Track C and the power grant that we are submitting. If you recall, I had originally submitted a Fast New York Track C application to ESD that included bringing in the transmission power, to Tryon, as well as some other components to include infrastructure improvements. Based upon this new, a revised way of bringing power in and the customer-owned substation, also with the New York State's Power Up project application coming out, ESD has recommended that all of the power components be moved to the Power Up application. And then the other site components, the water infrastructure upgrades, sewer infrastructure upgrades, grading, remain in the Track C grant. So now we're going to be submitting 2 grant applications rather than 1. All of the power will go into Power Up, and the remaining will be in the Fast New York Track C. So that's that is the update for Niagara, and we do have Patrick Tryon from Niagara on the line here. Patrick, anything else to add?
Yeah, you know the amount of those grants we applied for?
Yeah, it's 20 million or so for the Track C. And it'll be another, I believe it's 10 or so for the power up. Okay. Patrick, anything to add or?
No, appreciate the continued support from the IDA, and we're looking forward to hearing more from ESD and National Grid about next steps. But we're still on the path, and again, appreciate all.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Any other questions on this particular project? Again, we are moving forward with the project. We should be able to take some actions at our December meeting, correct, Carol?
Yeah, including that track C grant, we got site soil relocation that also includes the removal of the foundation.
That's correct. Okay. Yep, that's correct. And, you know, a lot of this, once we receive the award from ESD, it's going to have some of the requirements in it, right, of what the MWE requirements are and more, you know, we'll have more details about how we're going to attack that power upgrade. Because as you know, the IDA is taking the lead on bringing that transmission power into the park. So that's our responsibility. Because of the funding through ESD, it can't be through a private entity. It has to be to the IDA or public. So we will be taking the lead, and we'll have a lot more information about that coming up soon. So, okay. Moving on to our Decker Drive expansion project from the Wesson Group in the Crossroads Park. As you recall, they're purchasing the 12,000 square foot building from Nathan Latour Hospital and adding another 5,000 square feet. The City of Gloversville Planning Board application, they started the review of their application at their November 4th meeting. And they're now circulating for the seeker coordination and set a public hearing for their December 2nd meeting. The IDA cannot take any actions on that application that we reviewed last month until seeker is complete. And obviously that won't be complete until their December 2nd meeting. So again, we have no actions to take today other than providing you with some updates. Again, at your October meeting, you passed that resolution to set the public hearing for November 5th. We held that at the CRG offices. Again, there were no speakers. And I did meet with the superintendent of the Greater Johnstown School District, Alicia Coster, on October 20th to discuss the pilot. She had no concerns with it. Was surprised it was even in the city's of Johnstown's school district, but it was a good meeting. No concerns on it at all. Second component of the Gloversville Planning Board was that based upon the new square footage of the whole building being 12,500 square feet, they identified that they would need around 15 additional parking spaces. Wesson Group is looking at their plans right now to see if they can squeeze in those spaces. They've also discussed with me the potential of acquiring some additional property at Crossroads Park adjacent if they need it. Not sure if they do, but they put me on alert, said by all means, you know, but based upon what they've said, Kara, right, that that transaction would be outside of our existing application, and so it would be subsequent.
And they were going to proceed with closing and commencing construction on the renovations.
Correct.
Before that
Right.
resolved itself.
So
I asked Shannon about timing of closing, and I just didn't hear back from her yesterday, but
okay.
I'll let you know when I do. I'm not sure what their
Okay. So technically speaking, next month we could take the necessary actions to finish out that project as well. So, okay. So just some updates for this month. Okay, Mayor's still here. Good. Okay, so on to new business, kind of old business, but new business. Our National Grid Ingrams to Rotterdam transmission upgrade project. We have discussed this. It's been several months. If you recall, and I will bring up hopefully the map here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Where this one? Okay. So National Grid is upgrading their transmission line from Ingram's Mills all the way out through Rotterdam. Okay, way down here. This is a project that they have been working on for some time. They have contracted with CanAcre. It's a company that is working on obtaining the various leases of properties along this to support the project. There's different laydown yards that they need along this line. And if you recall, they approached the IDA to discuss using lot 20 within the Johnstown Industrial Park. And I'll bring that up here in a minute. Again, I have to do all the screen sharing stuff, so it's recorded. Share. Okay, so you'll see they have met with myself as well as the mayor. They would like to lease this particular lot as well as lots B and C from the IDA. They would like to utilize this as a laydown area to bring in materials to the site. They will be assembling some of them to the site, and then they will be transporting those to the areas that they'll be, obviously changing out the transmission. This is part of the transmission line right here. Okay. They identified that this is a great site, obviously close to 30A, as well as the thruway. The lease terms that they have requested is to include 40 months. They would start November 1st, 2026 through February 28th, 2030. And they have had a market study done to determine what their lease price would be. And they have offered $293,232. And just so you know, when I first met with CanAcre, they mentioned around the $800,000 mark. So it came down quite a bit, obviously. Surprised both myself and the mayor. Again, you all know that the IDA and the city of Johnstown have an agreement where any lease proceeds or sale of lots, 93% of that goes to the city of Johnstown, and we retain the remaining 7%. Okay, yep, sorry about that. In order for us to entertain this, we need to have a commercial appraisal done. I received a quote from CBRE to perform that appraisal. The cost is $3,500. And the mayor has indicated that the city will contribute 50% of that cost to partner with that. Again, right now they're offering $293,232, and we will see where this commercial appraisal comes. It's going to be the same. It's for the lease of 40 months for these properties, and they're going to base the appraisal on that. That's where we are with that. And I know that I've sent this out via email just so you had some acknowledgement of it prior to this meeting. And I would like for you to entertain authorization to enter into that agreement with CBRE not to exceed $3,500. Questions, comments? Mayor, go ahead and contribute if you'd like.
Yeah, I was disappointed. Disappointed by the money. But I think we have to look into it a little bit more because this CanAcre wanted us to sign a contract last month. They're saying the contract's 40 months starting November 2026, but they want us to sign on the dotted line. So it's not 40 months. It would be more like 50 months. And in speaking to CanAcre, it could extend even longer, and they want us to contractually be obligated to any delays they might have where, you know, we would do maybe a month to month as we go. Again, there's not been anything on that property, so it's not really earning any tax money. I understand that. I just think that's a low amount for that time period and for what we're offering them. So it's really 22 acres, correct? It's not even 20.
Yeah, it's
The two additional
yeah,
parcels.
it's more than that. Yeah.
So I guess we just have to wait for the appraisal to come out and kind of roll out, because we do have in the IDA contract, what is it? 12,000 per acre or something. What is that? 1,200? What's the amount that we charge per acre?
It's 25,000, I think. 25,500, something like that. That's what we charge for acre.
Okay. So, I mean, I think we just need to wait and see from the appraisal and go from there.
And Mary, you haven't heard anything from Walmart with that?
No, I mean, the agreement with Walmart was going to be that they would put infrastructure in, so, you know, we wouldn't have the parking on the side of the road by the tractor trailers. And that was more of an expense than they wanted to pay. That was our agreement. If they took over that property, they would put infrastructure in. So that kind of didn't, but there's been a few other people possibly interested in that property. Not tomorrow, but, you know, that's why we thought if this contract went for like 3 years, it would give enough time for maybe those interested parties to be prepared to develop on that property. You know, in saying that, you know,
This 292,000 is for the full term of the.
yes.
Yeah, that's full.
We get 21,000.
Yep. Yep.
Want a front payment, monthly payment?
It's monthly payment, I believe.
No, it's up
It
front.
was up front?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I mean, there's nothing there now. They're gonna have to put something down.
Well, that's why they want to start now. They want to start building the infrastructure, how they need it when they hit the ground running.
But this lease amount does not cover these months that they would be dealing with?
Not
Yeah.
according to the contract. They
Right.
cannot.
It's January 1 of 26, right?
They have to have a.
No, the lease agreement says November 1, 2026.
We would never sign anything, but at this point, we were looking at the sticker shock when we
Just-
saw it,
Out
so.
of curiosity, what other options do they have? Meaning a liability for us if they're.
Yeah, they would be on the site, yeah,
I don't know.
they wouldn't be able to be on the site. This- all-
They
They need to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they should start paying.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's get what we're gonna do is take the vote to have the appraisal done.
Right,
Yeah, that's all we can do anyway.
Well, I'll put the motion on the table that we
Yeah,
accept the 3,500 for the.
Yep.
Look at how it's split between IDA and city.
Right.
It's nice that the city.
Okay, Dave made the motion. Mike seconded it. Is there any further discussion? That would include the 50% from the city of Johnstown. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I will get that ordered.
Is there anything in that contract that they will return the property to?
Yeah, but it's just basic, it's just like basic language. That just says that they agree to do that. Then it says in one part that if they fail to remove all their improvements within 90 days, that the IDA would then have the right to go in and remove them at private sale, et cetera. But I mean, obviously that could,
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like a basic clause. The contract needs some adjustments.
yeah. They just showed up with the agreements, and
We've
Kara,
signed
Norb, Mike Albanese had seen them, but with those improvements, Mike, the one thing that I had mentioned at that meeting was, you know, what they're doing, they're gonna be putting in a curb cut there. They're gonna be bringing in, you know, gravel to basically establish pads. I suggested that maybe the agreement say it's up to the IDA or city to determine whether or not they want to keep those improvements. Because they're gonna be improving the site
Mhm.
technically, so, you know, that's something that I suggested that it's up to the IDA. Otherwise, they have to remove it. You know what I'm saying? Just made sense to me.
Is there, an old car wash on one of those lots like this?
There's an old barn, yeah, a garage on lot C. Yeah. Again, originally, when they met with me, they were only interested in lot A. But then the agreement, it said B and C, and I didn't know that. So they asked if that was available. I said, well, yeah, but apparently they just want to be able to control everything around it, you know, so.
So lot A extends beyond that blue line?
Yeah.
Commerce Street?
Yep, that blue line there is a 12-inch water main, which they are fully aware of. And Chris Bose, the engineer for the city of Johnstown, said that that's plenty deep enough. However, they understand that they can't, you know, excavate that particular area or what, so.
Will we build into the lease a buffer around that line that delineates where they can't excavate or make improvement?
We could do that. Yeah, we could do that.
I'd rather be delineated somehow so that it's absolutely crystal clear where they can and can't make improvements.
Yeah. You know, but from our standpoint, it's taking it off the market for, like the mayor said, at least 50 months.
I mean, it's been on the market for how long?
Well, before my time here, so, the 80s. So, all right. Well, we'll see where that goes. Okay. All right. Wrapping up here, our IDA training. We have discussed our mission statement for a couple of months now. You'll see on the bottom of page 16, based upon our discussion at the last meeting. I've drafted a mission statement to read: the IDA's mission is to drive economic growth and prosperity by preparing shovel-ready sites for development, including commercial enterprise, diverse housing options, workforce development, and tourism. That's how it was left, I believe, at the last meeting. Comments, questions?
It's short and concise compared to what we have, but I was wondering if we could just add in our last line that we have. We mentioned what you just read, but in doing so, the IDA strives to make Fulton County a desirable place to live and do business. It just add that last line of our current one to the proposed one. It just summarizes everything. It's not necessary though.
Say that again, Joe?
Right now, our current one uses the last line. In doing so, the IDA strives to make Fulton County a desirable place to live and do business. I say use that same line at the end of the proposed one. Just put it at the end of it. Just
Which one? Which of the proposed ones are we interested in?
It's the bottom one.
Okay.
Yeah, the bottom one underneath the bold lettering is the right. It's the
Yeah, so if you use
Yeah,
the
okay.
last
Yeah.
one on the bottom,
Yeah.
just put the bottom, not over the top, not the one or two.
Personally favor brevity and concise statement.
So don't use that last time.
Yeah, I think.
I'm fine, either way.
Any other thoughts? Comments?
I tend to lean towards Greg's sensibilities. I think that was kind of the point of doing the rewrite, was to try to squeeze this down to a more concise encapsulation of what our mission is. And I think it's implied that, you know, you're right.
I get that, yeah.
Do we need to have the word Fulton County in there at all, or is that also implied?
The Fulton County IDA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fulton County ID. Okay. All right. I'll just add Fulton County in there. So it'll be the Fulton County IDA's mission is to drive economic growth and prosperity by preparing shovel-ready sites for development, including commercial enterprise, diverse housing options, workforce development, and tourism. Okay. Would somebody like to make the motion to adopt that mission statement?
I'll
Go ahead, Joe.
Dan.
Dan?
Whoever was speaking over there.
Dan, okay.
I'll make the motion.
Would somebody like to second that? Joe Gillis? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Ninth grade English teacher would be proud.
You'll look better on the tattoo anyways.
There you go. Okay. Okay, that's all I have for open session, but I do have, request one executive session. I'd like to go into executive section for the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Somebody like to make that motion? Joe Semio, second by Dave.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried for executive session. Okay, our next meeting is on December 9th, 2025. Somebody like to make motion to close the meeting?
I'll second.
Greg, Dan, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are closed.